Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Wind, probably wind started India's renewable energy story with the onset of this century. Right now, we are sitting at roughly 50 gigawatts of the installed capacity, some more gigawatts, if may add.
53.
53 to be very precise. And wind also set India's renewable energy in the manufacturing side, not only to complement the wind story in India, but also to complement the textile manufacturing and those type of industry in Tamil Nadu. So wind has very deep relationship with India. But suddenly we have seen in last decade that India's wind industry losing out to solar, and many of the government's initiatives and backing also went to set up those solar farms and innovative products which solar industry produced. But now we are also seeing that there could be a second coming with the hybrid coming forth and offshore becoming more viable. But that also need to be complemented with the acceleration of manufacturing. So ladies and gentlemen, we have three of India's largest manufacturers in this panel: Suzlon, Adani, and obviously Inox Wind. Then we also have with us Sujata UG. She is responsible at Invest India about renewable energy, and wind is her very dear subject. She's been traveling across India to not only look at the opportunities for global players to invest in India, but also to look at opportunities for exports. So we'll be hearing a lot of stories from her experiences. And we have Yashaswi Gagal, who is a startup, who is still figuring out where to put his bets more, solar, wind, as well as on hybrid. So maybe Mr. Chalasani, if I could start with you. You had been into energy sector for the time I remember of energy. You were part of Reliance earlier, dealing with their thermal power plants. Now you have transitioned into the cleaner energy. So how do you see the second coming forth? Especially when we are talking about a lot of innovation happening in the turbines and a lot of innovation happening in the offshore. What is the future you're looking at for the wind energy segment, sir?
Anyway, first time I'm hearing the second coming sort of wind. I thought wind was always there and will be there in future. So therefore, I'm a little confused on the second coming, but let me explain. This is a common question wherever we talk about solar taken over wind. Nothing can take over other segment. The moment you want to replace fossil fuel partially, if not fully, in the country, that's what we're trying to do. Obviously, you need round-the-clock power. That's what the fossil fuel does. It's a base load operating stations. If you want to do base load operations, unless you have solar plus wind plus storage, it's impossible to do it. Okay? We can talk about, we went ahead, of course, we chased the numbers in the country, and we went ahead and installing huge amount of solar capacity. Then now we are seeing backing down in the daytime. Okay, even in the October, we had 12% backing down, before that 20% backing down. The tariffs coming down to in the exchange as low as zero, because you can't have a standalone solar, a standalone wind, or the standalone storage system. Because we have this goal of replacing the whole thing, and in fact, we want to do 45% of our generation coming from renewables by 2030. So all three will coexist. Okay? If you talk about number of megawatts what got added in the last few years, and say wind has taken a backseat, that's fine. That's because the easy way of doing business, quick capacity addition in solar. So therefore, it did happen. But then we are seeing that impact now. Okay, I think maybe that is the reason why you're calling it as a second coming, because everyone realized that you can't have pure solar or the pure wind. It has to come together. I'm pretty sure that moving ahead, even today we added 53 gigawatts, and each year we're improving. Last year, FY24, we did about 3 gigawatts. We crossed 4.5 last year. We will do 6 gigawatts this year. And then I'm sure that we'll reach 8 in FY26 and then reach about 10 in FY27. That's a large capacity addition for wind, because efforts required for doing, I always keep saying that 400 megawatts of wind is much, much more than 4,000 megawatts of Suzlon project, which I did in my feature avatar. Okay? Therefore, it's a difficult to execute projects, but we cannot have the renewable energy coming and replacing fossil unless you have all three. So it is not at all wind versus solar. It is wind plus solar.
Mr. Agarwal, if I can come to you, Mr. Chalasani has already talked about that there is a brighter future for wind. But if we take a back seat, a lot of components and components of components are coming from various places, especially from China. And government is now working on clean tech manufacturing mission. How do you see, this play taking place? There are a lot of differentials that whether 40% components are indigenously manufactured or 60%, 70%. But we are still not clear that, what sort of, components India can manufacture and what India needs to put in more efforts by technology nationalism or whatever the play government wants to play. So help us in understanding and unlocking this thing.
Thank you. Let me answer this in a bit, but just want to add into what JP said. I think majority of us as a manufacturers have been investing in our shops for almost years together now, which is exactly the testimony to say that we see wind as always being part of renewable in India. When you said second coming, actually we all believe that it never went out. Yeah, so today each one of us are investing heavily in expanding our manufacturing facilities, bringing the best technology on manufacturing so as to see that we can take care of renewable strategy for India. So where is the issue between when we say we bring a lot of components from China? I think that is again a misnomer. With Government of India bringing this ALM, this has accelerated whatever someone was trying to do it in India. I think majority of us, if I talk about three of us, we almost do 70 to 80% of manufacturing within our own shops. All the blades, the category A material, which is nacelle and hub blades and towers, we all do it in India. It's only category 2 where, the Indian shops have still not got into that sizes of castings or gearbox, where the Government of India ALM or probably the BESS which is coming in next year would help rapidly expand this manufacturing. Many times we also do strategic buying from China, which doesn't mean that it has to be not available in India. It is sometimes competition, sometimes volume that you need to bring in to cater to your customer. So I would say the right investment on a category, on a equivalent but category B material of castings or gearbox would help speed this initiative. And ALM, which MNRE has brought in now, would help this to happen much faster.
Sujata, if I can come to you, you have been tracking this very closely. Things which Mr. Agarwal is saying that the components are largely the bigger components. They are largely made in India, but components of the components plus the category 2 components are the real the real problem. And all doors are opening up in China. And obviously you are helping the government to build the strategy. Help us in understanding where all you think that government needs to invest and put efforts to make Indian entrepreneurs manufacture many of these components.
Thank you for having me here. And it is true, like almost 60%, around 60+% is being locally manufactured, especially for wind. We have complete expertise in the value chain, and there's a lot of participation, and almost 2,500 plus MSMEs are involved in the wind energy supply chain. But what we also realize is when we are looking at the bill of material for wind sector, as rightly mentioned, major, huge, like a nacelle or a gearbox outer, those are being manufactured, but the smaller tier 2 products are across the bill of material. For example, when we are making a blade, carbon fiber is one of the element which goes into manufacturing those blades, but India does not either have a technology or a manufacturing unit currently in India. So we are majorly dependent on import. So what we are doing at Invest India is looking at the whole supply chain. And when we are talking about manufacturing in India for Make in India and also Make for the World initiative, we are looking at how can we enable even a carbon fiber industry to come here and thrive here. So we are engaging with multiple geopolitically aligned partners, like say for example, carbon fiber. We are working with Taiwanese companies and Japanese companies to see how they can come here and manufacture here, which will also supply to wind energy sector. So similarly, across value chain, what we are looking at is how do we indigenize more. We have a target of 85% by 2030. And that is where our focus is. And we've been, as you rightly mentioned, we've been traveling across the country looking at this supply chain specifically, understanding from all the OEMs, especially the European OEMs, which have set up shop to service the domestic industry, but currently almost servicing the export market 100%. They are not participating in the domestic industry. So we are trying to look at what are the challenges on the ground, how do we enable them across sectors and across their supply chain, and how do we enable through, I would say, competitive federalism is what is happening. So there are specialized renewable energy schemes which states are coming up with, and also with the PLI in the ambit for wind energy. We are hoping this will take off.
Milind, if I can come to you and tell us, between you and Mr. Chalasani and complemented by Mr. Agarwal, you drive the demand in India, especially for many of the entrepreneurs whom Sujata and her colleagues are trying to motivate to come into India or establish their shops in India. When you see the ambit, when you see the supply chain or developments, where do you think that they are lacking? And you still, Indian manufacturers have to go to Chinese factories to source many of these components. Where are they lacking there?
Thanks for calling me here. See, one important thing which you need to see presently is like the bigger megawatts are coming up, like 5 megawatt, and all those platforms are coming up, where there is a supply chain available where we are having enough 10 gigawatt. Already supply chain is tied up in India. A few components like casting, forging, these are typically the component which we are getting from China. Otherwise, what is the most important strength is your local requirements, and your volumes is going to play major role when you are calling for any suppliers. And where as Adani, we are having the largest wind total, renewable park in Khavda, which is almost like 30 gigawatt one location, which shows very clear visibility of the volume for us, and which helps us to, motivate these suppliers to come to India and start the manufacturing shop. And there are many things are happening from that direction. So ALMM, of course, is helping a lot for, motivating the manufacturer by showing the volume. And they are aggressively looking India as a big market. And I think there will be a lot of change soon. And even sub-suppliers also will be interested. Even, latest we are done the forging shaft, which is very, very, difficult to get it in India. But still we have placed the order, and we are behind the, suppliers. Because the main issue, what we feel like, entering any new supplier, he is having a fear of the rejections. So we are with them, and we are telling them, okay, you go ahead. If there is any technical challenges, if there is any issues for the rejection, so we will take care of that. But still you need to go ahead. So that type of support, if you give it to the suppliers, suppliers will also aggressively look, this as a potential. So that's what we are trying to do. And I think this will definitely help, to entire wind industry.
Just to add here,
yeah, please.
Again, sorry to say it, it's a myth that we don't have the manufacturing capacity in India, both for major components or the major items or the components. Except for, as Sunita says, maybe some of the raw materials. Everything can be done here, including the castings and forgings, everything is possible. Okay. Today, one of our products, which is sold for we sold about 8 gigawatts in the country, 90% is domestic. What is important for us to understand is that these small sector, these forgings and castings, they're loaded to the extent of 25-30% today, capacity-wise, because the wind components are engineered products. Okay? If there is a 3 megawatt turbine of Suzlon, 3 megawatt turbines of Siemens, 3 megawatt turbines of Vestas, each one needs independent design of the casting. Everything is different. So therefore, there is an effort required for you to develop that product for a specific customer. Unless you see that there is going to be a constant inflow of orders, then obviously you can't do it. What China is doing is because they create a huge amount of domestic demand. Okay? They've done 50 gigawatts per year in the last 5 years. Now the current target from 26 to 30 is 120 gigawatts of wind every single year. When you create such strong local demand, then obviously you get to the scale, then you can make anything. But in India, we are not able to provide. See, we have 20 gigawatts of manufacturing capacity. We are actually producing about 4 gigawatts in a year. So I think that is what is the issue. How do we create that volume for our MSMEs, whether it's forging or the casting, on a sustainable basis? We can do. What ALMM is going to do now is help that. But I think unlike solar, in the wind is the only area where we started manufacturing in India. And in fact, for you, many people may not know, the first wind manufacturing plant in China was set up by Suzlon. First wind manufacturing plant, there was no manufacturing plant in China when Suzlon set up. So therefore, I don't think we have an issue of manufacturing capacity in this thing. Is if you don't support that industry, cheaper imports will come in. That's what government is trying to do through ALMM. It's not the capacity, it is not anything else, just sustainable demand to be created.
So in the second coming, you want more support from the government to create demand?
No, they've already decided. See, for example, till recently, whole country, including the government, thought that wind is anyway there for a long time. Manufacturing facilities are there, enabling environment is there. We don't need to do anything for wind. Therefore, all support system came for solar. We had ALMM coming from solar, initially modules, then cells, then everything else has come. Then suddenly they realized that the wind manufacturers are vanishing from the scene in India. Indian manufacturers, completely out. You have 60-70% of the things are coming from import. And Europeans actually say that are set up here, but everything they're exporting. Nobody is able to survive. Then they realize that here we have the capacity we are not able to use. In solar, we're creating capacity. In wind, we have a capacity we are not able to unlock it. That's when now they're realizing saying that, okay, we need to unlock the capacity what is already existing, therefore encourage more and more, and the cost will not increase as long as you give us sustainable volumes to domestic manufacturing. Solar was a different. You need to protect to get the industry up from the ground. But in wind, you need to protect from the cheaper imports and provide the volumes for the domestic manufacturers so that the cost will come down. That's all.
And the second way is, by innovation, right? By bringing in or incentivizing 5 to 7 megawatt turbines and those type of innovations so that, the lower wind can produce higher electricity.
This is again a myth. If you want, we can manufacture 10 megawatts capacity turbine in India today. But does India need it? No. Because the Indian wind speeds are different. We are completely different. Okay? What is important for us is cost per kilowatt hour. What is the cheapest cost? The moment cost per kilowatt hour goes up in our country, the demand for electricity dies. We all know that. Okay? So therefore, it is not the size. Depending upon the wind, the regime, what sort of a design you need to do it. The same 2 megawatt turbine you keep in, for example, I don't like to talk about Suzlon, but I'm just giving an example. 2 megawatt turbine started with 88 meters rotor dia. It went to 90 meters rotor dia. It went to 110 meters rotor dia. Megawatts will remain the same. You keep increasing your rotor diameter, so more output will come in, more sites will become useful. Don't go by the megawatt rating for wind turbines. It is nothing to do with innovation. Today we can actually manufacture 10 megawatts turbine in India, but you can't set up anywhere.
Thank you. Thank
so
you.
Just wanted to add. So look, he rightly said, whether we talk about 5x, 7x, 8x machines, I think technology is available with all the manufacturers. Why are we not doing it? Why did it not moved in rapidly? One needs to look at, there is an infrastructure issue as well in India. If you have to transport a blade of 80 meters, you would not see you would have to strengthen the roads, you will have to build the new bridges to bring it to those locations. And the locations are extremely, extremely remote and interior. I mean, the grains, one grain of 800 tons, if he has to move on a 40 trailers to reach to the location, it's a Herculean task. Yeah. So you need to look at the timelines that you need to execute a project, whether it makes viability for the IPPs or for a customer to get his returns, to invest into those steps. The second is the wind. Yeah, he rightly pointed. Today the locations that are available in these coastal states are probably B and C class wind. You do not get same output. Yeah, with those, I mean, you may increase the size of a turbine so as to take care of Mother Earth. Yeah, today land is precious. Nothing else but the land is precious. So getting a right land for that to build a turbine is a difficult task. So getting that land and putting that on a B or C class wind so as to get an efficiency is also a challenge. So I would say technology to produce in India, whether it is any X, 6X, 10X, is not an issue. It is more to do with, do you have a right infra, to build up at the location.
Yeah, one more point just to add. See, as the megawatt is the topic, yeah, definitely as, just I want to add, like rotor diameter, we need to increase. Then only you can, low wind sites we can capture, and whatever sites available is low wind sites. And to capture that, if you need to go for 91 meter blade, 100 meter blade, so there is, a lot of things we need to decide, how we need to transport, how many places we need to put our manufacturing facility, how much we can go close to, the sites. So that is very important. We have done a lot of innovation in terms of the towers. Many people have worked out many type of towers, and where we have worked, similar type of working is required in the blade, like split type of blade, that type of design. If it is, innovative things can, there is a lot of things are happening. I don't say that is not happening, but it's not very successful on the split type of blade. If that type of technology will bring, then I think there will be, more advantage to bigger rotor rather than talking on the megawatt side. But it's more important to talk on the rotor diameter and get more and more energy from it.
Correct, sir. So in the classroom of big boys, let me bring a young entrepreneur. Yashasvi, we have been hearing a lot about the complexities. But, we also understand that including the big players, they're facing a lot of transmission issues. There are choke points, there are certain policy bottlenecks. How are you, experiencing with many of these issues, and how do you deal with that situation?
See, as an IPP, Data Infra is currently building 970 megawatt, out of which close to 700 megawatt is wind. Now on the evacuation infrastructure, we are, the connectivity is a very serious problem right now that we face. The transmission line corridors which are getting built, they are delayed to strong timelines. And parallel to that, there has been a lot of hiccups that the IPPs are facing, especially with the REIAs on getting the PPA signed. But we are lucky enough, we have almost 400 megawatt which is under construction, which is pure wind. Yet, government is taking good steps in making the infrastructure much better, especially with the offshore transmission grid that they're planning in the Gulf of Mannar and Gulf of Khambat. That is almost 10 gigawatt of evacuation. So 5 years, I think, it will take to stabilize and enhance and to meet the 500 gigawatt of capacity that India is planning. And the scale is very much required. And the project of offshore that the country wants to do, I think it is a little bit far from realistic timelines. And adding up to the previous discussion which was happening, I was quite inquisitive to address also. Right now, I think a 4 megawatt turbine and a 5 megawatt turbine is something that is helping us particularly on the ROW front. We are not required to, there's almost a requirement of 20% more land. To negate those risks, a 4 megawatt turbine and a 5 megawatt turbine is what is complementing our ecosystem right now.
Milind, if I could come, there is echo. Hello? Milind, if I can come to you, the point he has just left, that what is optimum for India? And I come back to the manufacturing side. There is also another debate that whether we should manufacture everything in India, or should we look at alliances where we can build a India plus many story? Because globally, people are already talking about China plus one. And India is looking for many of the players in the ASEAN countries because they are also feeling a little bit uncomfortable with the Chinese hegemony. So do you think there is a scope for India plus many story, where many of these players can, duck into the Indian manufacturing supply chain? So I'll ask this question to both you and JP Chalasani, that what should be the India's right strategy when they'll be putting the manufacturing mission? So everything in India or India plus many story?
See, we are not only, I think talking about only India, we are exporting also. So there's no, we are definitely looking into many places, many components we are manufacturing and exporting, and which is really, strength of India. And that we are doing it. There is no doubt on that point. Definitely there are certain areas where we need some tie-ups, where the volume is going to play a major role, where we can bring some of the players who can jointly do some kind of commitment from our side as a OEM for their planning for the investment. And there, I think we can take more lead and we can bring them on the India manufacturing side. So that kind of approach we can adopt very well.
So before I come to JPC, Sujata, if you want to add, because you are studying this, what is the correct strategy as per your, that, which will set India's wind energy for our next leap?
See, I think the ALMM and other initiatives, PLI and other, it's not only for Indian manufacturing and to ramp up our manufacturing capabilities, but also to ensure quality so that we plug into the global supply chain, right? Because the price is not the only deciding factor, and that currently seems to be what has happened. So that's what the government is now looking at. So when all these initiatives are plugged into the Indian ecosystem, we welcome a lot of our mandate is to invite foreign investments into the country. So definitely it is not going to be whether India versus other countries. I think it can be definitely a collaboration with friendly countries, and India is now entering into multiple free trade agreements and bilateral agreements, the UK, the European Union, which is being currently negotiated. So there are multiple partnerships which are available, which we can leverage and the industry can definitely leverage. And at Invest India, what we support predominantly is not only direct dollar investment into the Indian ecosystem, but also how do we enable technology collaboration so that there is a play for the foreign manufacturer or from a different country. They also get a pie in the Indian ecosystem, but also how we can strengthen their ecosystem, because when India comes into play, it is more of scale. So that means the prices are definitely going to be falling down, and that is going to benefit South-South cooperation, and also in terms of quality, ensuring that quality is being delivered. So we see a lot of opportunity in India plus many, not necessarily India, India plus many.
Okay, JPC.
Looking at the current geopolitical situation, so I feel that US base has to be in India. Even if you want to have a collaboration, investment can come in, but do it here. That's what ALMM says. It doesn't bar any foreign manufacturers not getting into India. It says, please manufacture here in India. Okay? But in the current geopolitical situation, I don't think, in looking at the future, if you don't secure yourself here in India, we will be in trouble. I shiver when I look at the way the BESS, which is a buzzword today, battery system, single source of supply. Single country is the source of supply for us. Such sort of supply concentration on one single country, you can imagine what sort of a delicate situation we are in. So I think I agree with Sujata partially, is that have collaborations, but please make them to come here, invest here, manufacture, set up here, so that we don't get into any other issues. Welcome to set up here, welcome to have a technology collaborations, but manufacture in India is what would be my view.
Mr. Agarwal, you have to work with the American players, European players, and now you're working for an Indian entrepreneur. So how do you see this scenario? Do you think manufacturing everything in India is possible, or like a GE, like a model, where they offset many of the manufacturing to reduce the cost, that still has some life?
Yeah. So let me put the fundamental here. I mean, these are all capital intensive items and they have a life of at least 25 years. So which means any equipment that is installed in India has to be serviced and maintained for those 25 years. And if you do not have a supply chain which can cater to that service, and if you have to be dependent on outside world, you can imagine, what can happen. So I think we all completely agree with the government policy to say, please make it in India. Yeah, and you may have, if you do not have a technology, if you do not have a manufacturing capability, please bring it from outside, make them a partner. But not that you need to be dependent ages together to run with them. The partnership can run in different methods. It can be a one-time transfer, it can be a royalty, XYZ. But then once again, coming back, if you're seeing what's happening globally, just to give an instance, when India and Pakistan had they had a trouble for those 5 days, we were told every turbine which is on the border has to be shut down because there was a threat. So now, something like what happened in COVID, if the supply chain gets broken in China, what do? You can't have India talking about 500 gigawatts coming in from renewables, everything going down just because someone is not supplying. So definitely you need to have a supply chain. It should be self-sufficient to cater to the mandate that is given to all of us. In terms of bringing technology, again, where is the market? You look at onshore, where is the market? Other than the Asian countries, where else is the market? People in Europe are looking at offshore, but onshore is all India. So whether we like it or not, we would all spend time and money in bringing the latest technology. I can tell you Inox, we already have a 3X platform, 4X, we will be launching it next year. We are upgrading our capacity to 4.5 gigawatts. So there is capacity and talents and technology available to upgrade India to those targets. It is outside world who's actually waiting to say how can they be part of it, either through a royalty, either through a technology basis. Otherwise, we are up the game.
Sir, in US, we have seen that after IRA squeeze done by Donald Trump regime, a lot of technologies, which are available in the laboratories, and they require to be scaled up, and India could be the perfect ground. Have you done this study that, especially three of you, that which all technologies can benefit India and can be brought? Perhaps, they will be at their cheapest low right now.
So let me start. I think a majority of us today are very buoyant about onshore wind. Yeah, offshore is still something, which probably would need some hand-holding from outside world. Government of India has now given a mandate for a 1 gigawatt of offshore, but then we still do not have a data to substantiate whether where to put in. We talk about there is a capacity, but which is the right location today? How would the environmental play? How would you connect it to the grid? I think the offshore is something where we would need some hand-holding, that's my view, hand-holding from the technological players.
JPC?
On offshore?
Basically on the IRA technologies which are now available in the Bay Area, do you think some of them can be brought to India, put to use?
I really don't know what's, obviously things would keep changing in future, but right today, if at all you can use is that how do you use maybe better weather forecasting technologies, which is very, very important for renewables. Because if you, when renewables is becoming the mainstay of the grid, if you are not able to predict what will you generate tomorrow, it's a problem. Okay, that's why the government of India also is now putting the restrictions that bring it down to plus minus 15% from for wind. So those are available outside of yes. Bring those things. It will improve your predictability, improves your grid stability. Similarly, maybe some of the AI to use that. How do you improve the performance of your turbines, given turbines, and use technologies for online on clearing your blades, various maintenance issues. But I don't think the fundamental technologies, but the technologies can help to harness more from what we are creating already. I think that would be really useful. Which is there are quite a few of bunch of startups at different places who are doing and all this. I think that is what is good to import for us.
Milind, I'll hand over this mic only with the condition that you be brief, because this time is up. And this color is becoming more red as the time goes by. Maybe, quickly if you can wind up.
See, just to add on that, as basic technology we have everything available. So we all are on the same page that we are having. Yeah, on the other side, on the improvement side or on the component side, if there is any technology, tie-ups and all those things are required to be done, those only thing can, I think we can look. And offshore is, something at present we are not focusing as thing. But onshore, we have enough things to, available for us. And improvement, definitely we can learn if there is any opportunity or if there is any technologies available which can bring more improvements that we can look into.
Thank you, Milan. Sorry, the time is up. I'm tempted to ask you guys more questions, but unfortunately, we all are bound by time. Thank you.